So I just want to let y'all know that I don't believe that Jesus is God. I don't talk about this information because someone convinced me of it, because someone just gave me a good enough argument, reasoned with me enough for me to believe that Jesus is the all-powerful creator. I believe that Jesus is God for a mixture of reasons. The first reason that I believed Jesus was God, the very first thing that led me to that conclusion, was I started to pray to Jesus when I was in the New Age movement still, when I was still doing tarot cards, I was still doing divination, I was still communicating with spirit guides, by name, some of them, or one of them, I suppose, just one. I was communicating with spirit guides, and I was doing all this different spiritual work, communication with the spirit world, in different ways. I started reaching out to Jesus and praying to him, and he came through, like, beautifully. He came through in the most clear answers that, I could receive. He came through almost every time, and I couldn't deny that I was getting some spiritual communication directly from Jesus. He is showing himself to be there and powerful and good, So I started to read about him more. I started to read the Gospels. I reached out to him and I kept on praying to him. And I read the Gospels. I realized, this is the second reason, that the history behind his life is actually meticulously well preserved. We have the accurate recorded words by the eyewitnesses of Jesus, recorded down by those eyewitnesses and passed through the centuries. The only variations in the manuscripts that tell about Jesus' life, which include the New Testament, the only variants we have are 90% spelling errors. The other, 10%, largely just grammar errors that do not change any context. The parts that do change a little bit of context seem to have been added in later by maybe overzealous scribes, or, this is another one, the story of the woman caught in adultery, which lays a foundation for not being sexist, so prejudice against women. So if you have a complaint about the errors in the Bible, they're really not bad. They're not bad errors. They're not manipulative errors. They're clearly not put there by a patriarchal deceiver and manipulator, if they included that story. But the point is, we have the accurately recorded words of Jesus by his trustworthy eyewitnesses. His disciples who wrote down his words, then, after he had resurrected from the grave, went to their own executions willingly and refused to deny Jesus as Lord, as resurrected, as they claimed. These disciples dying for that reason shows that they actually believed he had resurrected from the grave. They actually believed he was God. We have evidence outside of the Bible that the first century church was worshiping Jesus as God. So, among these plethora of topics that I brought into this video, all of these points have convinced me that Jesus is the all-loving, all-powerful, all-present creator. He is the creator in human form. That's what he claimed to be. That's what his disciples believed him to be. And that's not a bad thing. He is the most beautiful person in all of human history. He laid the foundation that did the most change, I'm convinced, throughout all of human history in people's hearts, to change people to be more accepting, equitable, loving, to change people's hearts to love God more and to know that God loves them more. Jesus made these changes on the largest scale in human history. I'm convinced. He is the most amazing, world-changing man in all of history, and he is the best man for the job, let's just put it that way. He was a perfect man according to the closest followers of his and his family. He was a perfect man, he lived a perfect life, and then he also claimed to be God and resurrected from the grave, which gives weight to that claim, that he knows what he's talking about when he's claiming divinity. I hope this makes sense to y'all. Stay blessed, everyone. Jesus really loves you. He showed that in his life. He died on the cross for you, in your place, in all of our place as a fallen humanity. And he suffered like that so that we did not have to spend eternity separated from this all-loving God. In our fallen state, he saved us. He came to save us, not to start a religion, but to lay the foundation of knowing that God saved us just simply because he loves us. Now we have a foundation to love God because God loves us, not because we're trying to strive for heaven or be better than, this person or that person. We are going to heaven because God loves us. That's the point. Stay blessed, y'all.